Hi, I'm Pami Woodruff with the schooloflostarts.com and makeitwithpam.com, and I am here to talk about our Make It project, which is to make a pillow to use on your sofa or on your bed. Now, this is an easy project. It takes only very, very simple sewing. You don't even need to have a sewing machine or any experience to be able to do it. So let's find out more about it. Now, first of all, the project is a very, very simple pillow. This is one that I made last year. It's something that is a removable cover, makes it easy to keep clean and easy to wash. So you can use this pillow either on your sofa in the living room or on your bed. Now, if you are going to be using this in the living room, something that's a little bit thicker, a little bit sturdier is a good idea. These are often called home deck fabrics or home decorating fabrics. It's more the weight of a drapery or the existing upholstery on your couch. If you're going to be using it in your bedroom, you might be able to get away with something that's a little bit lighter, more like the weight of a sheet or a pillowcase. Something to consider is the size of the pillow and the use before you purchase your fabric. Now, a cotton blend fabric is best because it washes up easily and it doesn't pill. If you end up with something with a lot of polyester in it, for instance, it gets all these little nubs on the surface and it doesn't look as fresh after you've purchased it and washed it. Now, you might end up with a really big pillow or a much smaller one. Doesn't matter. We can find a way to make this out of fabric in just about any width. One thing to consider is if you are using your pillow on a bed, you can probably get away with quilter's cotton, which comes in hundreds of colors, thousands of prints, so together you've got probably almost 1 million combinations. And it is very easy to sew with, very easy to take care of. If you are using your pillow on the sofa or in the living room, you probably want something that's a little thicker. The home deck fabric is your choice then. Something to consider is that the quilter's cotton usually comes in 42-inch widths, while the home deck fabric usually comes in 52-inch widths. This will come in important when you're deciding how much fabric you need to buy. Basically, if you are using a small pillow form, anything from 8 inches on up to about 14 inches, you can use the quilter's cotton with minimal waste. You can use the larger fabric, of course, but you will have some leftover fabric. Not a horrible problem, but you end up buying a little bit of fabric you're not using. If you're using a 16-inch or 18-inch pillow form, you're going to have to use either the wider fabric, the home deck fabric, or else you'll have to have a longer piece of the narrower fabric and you will have some waste. If you have a 20-inch or a 22-inch pillow form, then you are going to have to cut your project lengthwise, and there will definitely be some waste. One nice thing though is if you're using home deck fabric, you will have enough for 2 pillows. So it's not totally wasted because you have a purpose for it. Now, some other things to consider is thread. You will need to have just a small amount of thread for this project. A small spool will do. Usually that's around $1.25. But if you have some close enough thread that's a little bit left over on another spool from some other project, feel free to use that. It will probably work just fine. So what is it that you need to have to do this project? Well, you're going to need a pillow or pillow form. Now you can either buy a new pillow form like this, or you can decide to cover an existing pillow that you have to save a little bit of money instead of buying a new one. You can just make a new cover for that. You also need some fabric. And if money is tight, rather than buying the new fabric, you could maybe use an old pillowcase or an old towel, something like that, to learn the process with, and then later make this with something nicer. One good thing, if you've got a pillowcase, if it's a king-size pillowcase, In particular, just a little travel pillow is the perfect size to do this project with. Those are kind of skinny, long. It's like a miniature of a bed pillow. So, pillow form, whatever shape you happen to be. Fabric, whatever kind you decide works best for your project. And I'll post a chart on the website about how much to get. You will need some thread. We've already mentioned that. You will need a sewing needle. And for that, I recommend that you get some sharps. That's a medium length needle. It's easy to sew with, especially for beginners. If you get the quilter's needles, those are a little bit shorter. They're great for the tiny stitches that quilters are going to be taking, but there's less needle for you to hold on to. And I think the sharps are easier to learn with. You all also need some scissors that can handle cutting fabric. These are mine. I think these are around $20, $25, somewhere around there. But there's some perfectly suitable fabric scissors that you can get in the fabric sections of Walmart. They are titanium coated blades. It's about $12 to $14 for a set of two, a long pair for cutting fabric and a shorter pair for cutting threads. Those work really well and they're very inexpensive. It's also very nice to have some pins as you're working your project to be able to pin the layers together. Now, one thing to be aware of is that there are some pins called ballpoint pins. Those have a slightly rounded tip. Those are great for working with knits, but we're working with a woven fabric. So you get some that are actually sharp, or they might just not say ballpoint on them. That makes them fine. And if you've got a dozen safety pins hanging around, you can probably make those work. One other thing that is very nice to have, but is not essential, is something to measure with. Now for that, you may have a dressmaker's tape measure. That works well. You might borrow a tape measure like this that's sitting around the house. That works very well too. Yardstick, or how about a carpenter square? Carpenter squares are actually really good because you can make sure you cut nice and square across the fabric and make it straight edge. What do we need to get right away? Well, you don't need to get all of this stuff right away. You can have a few days to look for your yardstick that you know you've got somewhere around the house. But what we need by day 3 is your fabric, your thread, your scissors, and a sewing needle. That's all that we'll need to get right away. So that's it for tonight. I will post these items in the group so that you have that information handy. And if you've got any questions, just post them down below. Thank you very much, and I will see you tomorrow.